All right, welcome Norwalk Public Schools. This is Tina Henkel, Director of STEM. We are in Instructional Office Hour number 5, I believe, and today's theme is how to use NearPod to transform your virtual classroom. And I'm joined by two of my wonderful colleagues, Kate Curran and Lindsay Esposito. They are both 2 teachers in residence at Central Office this year, and they are home. They're not at Central Office, obviously. And so as I mentioned, what we will be working on is how to use NearPod, and they're gonna take over in a minute. But reminder, this is a webinar, so I'll be managing the chat box. So if you have questions while they're going through their presentation, by all means, put the questions in the chat box, and we will answer them by the end of the presentation or during the presentation. When we're done, we will stop recording, and then we will begin having an informal discussion regarding anything technologically related. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for doing this for us.
Thank you, Tina.
I'm going to share my screen so we can put up the presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Engage and Motivate, How NearPod Can Transform Your Virtual Classroom. My name is Lindsay Esposito, and like Tina said, I'm the teacher in residence for humanities this year, and I'm joined by Kate Curran, who is the STEM teacher in residence. Today we will be taking an in-depth look at how to access NearPod through ClassLink, how to adjust your settings, how to search for lessons, how to edit those lessons, and then finally how to add them to your Google Classroom. Our learning outcomes for today are to familiarize educators with the platform and how to best utilize its resources. NearPod has so many unique features that help engage students, and through these features, teachers are also able to collect real-time data. The other learning outcome is to provide an enriching, meaningful, and engaging teaching and learning environment for all students. So the interactive features of NearPod help to enhance student engagement while keeping them safe in the virtual environment. We will begin by watching a very short video that will give us an overview of the platform.
Introducing NearPod, an award-winning EdTech tool trusted by millions of teachers and used by tens of thousands of schools and districts. NearPod is a platform that easily allows teachers to create, download, and teach interactive lessons across all student devices, including Chromebooks, iPads, iPhones, and Android devices. It works on any operating system or browser. NearPod works seamlessly with Google Classroom and integrates with learning management systems like Canvas and Schoology. Teachers can easily upload their existing PowerPoints, PDFs, Google Slides, and Sways and convert them into interactive NearPod lessons by including engaging activities like quizzes, polls, draw-its, open-ended questions, fill-in-the-blanks, and 3D objects. And with NearPod VR, teachers can take their students on a virtual field trip anywhere in the world. NearPod VR works on any device with or without headsets. Imagine taking students to the Taj Mahal, the pyramids of Giza, the Washington Monument, or the Great Wall of China, all from the comfort of your classroom. Teachers launch a live lesson. Students enter a lesson code, and the lesson is synced to all student devices. Teachers can also launch student-paced lessons, which allow students to complete a lesson on their own time wherever they are. Teachers get real-time feedback on student understanding and can access post-lesson reports to assess individual and class performance. NearPod also has a library of thousands of ready-to-teach, standards-aligned K-12 lessons across all subjects, from a curated list of distinguished publishers and authors, including Common Sense Education, Time for Kids, Learn Zillion, ReadWorks, Education.com, and expert K-12 teachers from our NearPod Authors Program. All lessons are editable and customizable to meet the needs of individual teachers and students. Schools and districts have access to special admin features that allow administrators to create and manage a private library of interactive lessons with teachers at their school. NearPod also has exclusive in-person training and PD to ensure you get the most out of NearPod's incredible features and benefits. NearPod is the complete classroom solution that will transform your teaching and engage your students. Learn more at nearpod.com.
All right, so my name's Kate Curran, and I'm just going to start by showing everyone how to log into your NearPod account, which is actually very easy. It is located on your ClassLink account, and when you log in, you're going to see all of your tiles, and 2 of those tiles are going to say NearPod. One will say NearPod Student. That one's not for you. You want to find the one that says NearPod Teacher. You will click that, and if it's your first time logging into NearPod, you will be prompted to log in with this screen. And there's a few options, but we always tell teachers to log in with Google, so the blue button, and then you're going to use your NPS email and password to log in. And that way, ClassLink will remember your login information very easily. So from here, you will be brought to your home dashboard, which looks a lot like this. If you've never logged into NearPod, it might be a little emptier because you won't have lessons populating your library in the center. You might not have any folders if you didn't create any. So this is my dashboard and what it would look like. When you first log in, you definitely want to check that your user account is correct. So you can see over here on the left, I circled how you can check that. I'm a district user with a red ribbon, and you also want to make sure you have that red ribbon, because if you're a silver or even a gold ribbon, you're not going to have access to all the lessons and resources that Lindsay and I will show you. So you want to upgrade your account by contacting the tech department at central office. So once you realize that, you can still, if you're a silver or gold, you can still explore and get, your feet wet a little bit while you wait for your account to be upgraded. But if you have a red ribbon, you're ready to go. The next thing you need to do before you can start assigning lessons and making sure everything is ready to go for your Google Classroom, you want to change some of your settings. By going to the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that grayed out head. That's your profile, and you'll click that. And after you click it, you're going to see a drop-down menu appear, and it's going to show your name with a little gear next to it. And it's going to repeat your account information. So this is a picture of what Lindsay's would have looked like. And you would just click the gear next to your name. And then from there, you'll be brought to your profile page. And on the left-hand side, you have a few options to choose from. You can click Profile, Advanced, or Notifications. And to change your settings, you want to click Advanced. And then you will be brought to all of the settings that you can change by turning them on, which is blue, or off, which would be gray. And some of these will be off and you'll want to turn them on. So that's why you need to do this first, so that your future lessons you assign are all set and ready to go. The first setting is called Immersive Reader. This is a new feature for NearPod that we have access to with our accounts. And it's kind of like Snap and Read on the Chromebook. That's on every Chromebook. And it just, it's like a helpful tool that reads text to students. So it's going to be a little circle that appears at the top right-hand corner of a NearPod lesson. Kids can ignore it or use it if they need it, and it will read to them any text that you typed on the slide. Unfortunately, it won't read PDFs. So if you took a screenshot, maybe of a paragraph, and you want them to read the paragraph, it won't read it to them. However, NearPod has other features you can use, like inserting audio where you can read the text that way. The second setting is student notes. This one you might want to turn off if you're in elementary, because it can be a distraction and they don't really need it. Middle school and high school might want to turn them on. It's your choice. It's just a feature where on the right-hand side of their lesson screen, they can expand the note window. They'll see a little arrow for it, and they can take notes in this text bar. And then when they're done with the lesson, it will send their notes to their Google Drive. The third one, everyone should definitely turn on. It's showing your quiz results while in a student paced mode lesson. And most of you will assign student-paced mode lessons because we can't guarantee that all of your students will be present during a lesson at one given time, because we have to also be, aware of their schedules and their needs. So student-paced mode lesson just means they're going to do it at their own pace, and you give a due date of when they should have it completed by. And you want them to be able to see how well they did on their quizzes. The fourth one I also turn on, we want students to resubmit their answers if they are given feedback. So we want to give feedback on student work, student responses, and allow them time to reflect and revise their answers. The last setting will be off if you have not touched these settings. So you want to turn it on because it's just to enable your Collaborate board. So students can have discussions, they can see other kids' responses. This is a fun feature for all students to have. And once you've turned these on or off, you don't have to save it. You would just click the home icon, which Lindsay will show you in a minute what that looks like, on the top left-hand corner of the screen, and it'll bring you back to your main dashboard.
Just pausing you guys there for 1 second. So there was a question in the Q&A box about the contact for Tech Center. So Kathy Orgaban is usually who helps us with some of the NearPod accounts if there's an issue and you don't have that red ribbon that Kate was talking about. And the other question was about the collaboration board and the interactivity that students have with NearPod. Yes, as Kate said, you have to make sure that you go into those account settings before you start designing or editing lessons, because if they're not on, the kids won't have all the functionality that they're going to show you today. So it is important to go look at those settings if you've been using it and if you want to modify. And then when you get to this spot in your presentation, ladies, if you can also address Dr. Myers' question, which was about updating or uploading any PowerPoint presentations other than Google Slides.
Yes, we will definitely get to that. After we show you how to edit a slide in NearPod, we can show you how to quickly upload. It's very easy. So I'm going to give Lindsay the screen so she can show you how to access the library in real time, because we find it better when we can just model it, and it helps us kind of visualize the path you take to explore their extensive library.
Good idea.
Thank you, Kate. So as you can see, this is my main dashboard that Kate was talking about. After you adjust your settings, this is the home icon that you can click to bring you back to your main dashboard. So to begin searching for lessons on NearPod, you're going to go to the tab that says NearPod Lesson Library and click on it. Now by clicking on this tab, you are going to have access to every NearPod lesson, every lesson that NearPod has to offer. There are numerous ways for you to search for lessons. If you look on the left-hand side on the gray ribbon, you can add filters to search. You can search by standard or by state. Kate and I like to just focus on the top two. We find it easiest to do it that way. Get out of that. You can search by subject, you can search by grade level, and then you can search by resource type. Today we're going to focus on how to search by publisher. So instead of searching and filtering out lessons, you would search by these tabs down here. And you're going to notice that one says by publisher. You would click that, and it's going to bring up the different publishers that have created NearPod lessons. Kate and I have some favorites. We love Newsela. Kate loves Desmos and FET. We also love ReadWorks. And a great vocabulary resource is this Vocabulary Cartoons, which is for grades 6 through 12. So we're going to take an in-depth look at Newsela. You would click on the Newsela icon. One thing that I should mention, that once you click on a publisher, you cannot filter by any of the topics in the gray ribbon. So if you chose to filter by grade level, it's going to bump you back out into NearPod's main library and give you every 4th grade lesson that they have available. If you search by topic and type something in the search bar, it's going to bring you out of Newsella's lessons and back into that main library. So once you choose to search by publisher, you have to stay within these parameters. Now here are some important things to note when searching through Newsella lessons. You're going to notice that the lessons are placed in grade level bands. You have an option of grades 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. When you choose a grade level band, you're going to see all the lessons that fall under that. You're going to notice that some of them are organized by bundles and some of them are individual lessons. If they're organized by bundles, they'll have multiple lessons at the top, and you'll also have an option to preview the bundle at the bottom. If it's an individual lesson, there will be nothing there. It'll just be the content area. Now, as you can see, they are just kind of plopped in here, so you have to do your due diligence as a teacher and sift through to find lessons from the content area you're looking at. There's one that have to do with social studies, there are science lessons, and there are ELA lessons.
And there's math too.
And there's math. So most students are interested in the Titanic, so I chose to walk you through this one. Now, once you choose a lesson that you might be interested in, you can briefly preview it right here on this screen. You'll notice that it gives you a little background information about what the lesson is and the materials that you would need to prep for it. It's going to include something like an essential question and learning objectives. You can see up here how many slides there are in the entire slide deck. There's 36, and you might not want to go through them all, but if you are clicking through and you like what you see, you can add it to your library. Once you add it to your library, you are able to edit it and make it your own. Now, you know it will be added to your library because NearPod will tell you by that green ribbon that it was successfully added, and you'll have this option to show it in your library. As you can see, it brought me back to my library, or what Kate and I like to refer to as our main dashboard. And now I have the option to share it, to edit it, to assign it as a live lesson or a student-paced lesson. I'm going to look deeper into the lesson and go in and see if there's any slides that I want to edit. As a teacher, you always want to do this because you want to make sure that the lessons you're assigning meet the needs of your students. You're going to get the option to duplicate the lesson, and Kate and I advise against that just because you can always find the lesson back when you go to the NearPod lesson library. And if you duplicate it, you will just have 2 versions in your own library, and only one will be the edited version that you're going to use with your students. So to take out that step of having 2 lessons, we just advise going to edit lesson. Once you're in edit mode, you'll notice that you can see the entire slide deck at a glance. It's easy to identify which slides have NearPod features on them because they have this blue writing laid over them. So going through the preview of the lesson, I noticed that the second slide is a teacher slide. It just gives me an overview about Newsela on NearPod and the materials I would need to prep for the lesson. This is a slide that the students don't need to see, so I'm going to delete it. To delete it, I click on the lesson, and it gives me an orange border, and I can just go to delete slide. NearPod will ask you if you are sure you want to delete. It does this because once it is deleted, there is no back button to go back and retrieve it. It will be gone forever. So as I'm going through the slides, I'm noticing that I would like to edit slide number 3 because these aren't the learning objectives I'm trying to target. So I have to double click on the slide. And now once you get to a slide that looks like this, if you can't click on it to type, and if you see this bar on the right-hand side, that means that it's actually an image. You'll know it's an image because you can make it bigger or smaller. But unfortunately, you cannot edit an image. So to edit this slide and put in my own learning objectives, I'm going to have to throw the image away and create my own slide. Now, creating your own slide, you get options. You can pick out a new layout where you can choose one element, a title and an element, 2 elements, or 4 elements. You can choose to add a background by searching Google, so you might want to do blue background. Pick which one that you like. Always save your work. Once this background is on, you can adjust it. You can lighten the background. You can also darken the background. Then I can add my title. In NearPod, you cannot change the text. The only way you can change the text is to change the theme, which is over on the side. You can add text in one of your element boxes. Once you have the option to type, you can change the font down at the bottom. You have 4 choices: small, normal, large, or huge. You can also choose to adjust it. Side, you can put in bullets. And then on this side, you might want to add something like a picture or a video. And you can do that through searching Google as well. Once you've edited your slide and you're happy with it and you have no more edits or revisions to make, you can go to save and exit, and it's going to bring you back to the slide deck. You can also pick up and move a slide if something is not in an order that you like. Now, as I was going through this lesson, I also noticed that there were some interesting NearPod features embedded into it. For example, on slide 14, there's a slideshow. Looks like this, if you would like to. So this is the teacher view. You can preview what the students would see. This is one that has to do with vocabulary. It's giving you images and definitions. And then the fifth slide, number 15, was a check for understanding, where they would have to match the definitions with the word. And as a student, you would know you got it correct because you would see it check. Now, one of the reasons Kate and I love NearPod is because it's great for whole group instruction, but we've also been thinking about ways that we could use it for small group instruction. So I would like to draw your attention to slide 17. On slide 17, it gives you a link directly to the Newsela article. And I'm going to show it. So this is what it looks like from when you're designing it. And this is what it would look like from a student view. Once you click on it, it's going to bring you directly to the Newsela article. And the great thing about Newsela and how you could use this in small group instruction is you could customize it to whatever your group Lexile level is.
Lindsay, I don't know if we can see. Did you open up a brand new window?
Yes. Oh, you can't see that?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So let me just briefly tell you, it brings you to the article, and then you can, as the teacher, choose a Lexile level. So if you wanted to assign this to a small group, you would be able to. Slide 18 also lends itself nicely to small group, because as you can see, you're doing a think, pair, share, and you're having the students answer questions. So something you could do is have the students choose what question they want to answer and get in a small group and discuss and share out. Or you could assign a question and do a follow-up discussion with the small group after they've gone through the entire lesson. So after you have previewed and modified and made your changes and you're happy with your lesson, you're going to always go to save and exit. Once you go to save and exit in this on this screen, it's going to bring you back to your library. And your edited lesson will be the first lesson on your dashboard, so you can easily find it. Once you put it into your library, you can always go back and edit it as needed. So once it's in here doesn't mean that you can't touch it again. You can always go back and edit it.
So I'm going to share my screen, and I know Dr. Myers asked how to change a already created Google slide into a NearPod presentation. It's really easy. I can do it with this presentation I'm using for this webinar. Right now, this is a regular Google Slides presentation I made in my Drive. So you can see it has all the normal features here on the left. And if I wanted to change it into a NearPod deck, so I'm just going to show you my dashboard real quick so you know it's not there right now because I haven't converted it. It's very simple. So all you have to do is go to add-ons when you're in a Google slide you want to make it into a NearPod one. And you'll notice there's actually a NearPod tab, and you'll just click Open NearPod. On the right-hand side will be all those NearPod features you can add to this presentation. So I can add anything. I could add a video. So say I didn't want it to be a Google slide video, I want it to be a NearPod video. So it's very simple. I can go down here and check. And it has all of those NearPod features that we kind of perused, but there's so many to get into. But if you want to add a video, you can just find video and click it. And it's going to add that slide right after slide 3. I can search using YouTube, which is actually where I got that video. I can also put the URL link right in here and find it, but if I know the name of the video, it's pretty easy to find. And there's that same video I showed earlier. Click it, you save, and it's going to add another slide right after slide 3. That's actually a NearPod slide. So now I know it's a NearPod slide because it has the blue, band across, and it's now a NearPod created slide. So if I actually presented this in NearPod, this slide won't work because this is a Google slide video. In order to use the video in NearPod, I'd have to create a NearPod. And then I would just save, and I would just save and go to my NearPod account, and you're gonna see it now in my library. So it's appearing right here. It's my most recent, right? And it's now going to be in both places. To edit it though, I do have to edit it in my drive. All my changes will go straight to NearPod, which is great. So this one will constantly be updated as I'm updating it in my Google Drive. But so here it is, it's ready to go. It technically has one NearPod feature, which makes it automatically a NearPod presentation. So it's very
Have you ever imported a PowerPoint or anything from Microsoft into NearPod? I think Dr. Myers likes to also use PowerPoints sometimes.
No, you can. You can drag them in. I believe you can. So if you do like lesson in NearPod, if you just say create your own and you do a blank, this is where you can drag. Do you see how it says PPT? PowerPoint. Yeah. You can drag and drop your PowerPoint file right in here.
Perfect. And then one other question that I found in the Q&A as well was about world language content. I know you guys were searching some content in the beginning. If there's anything specific for Spanish or any other, or French.
I know I was working a lot with Jenny Lopez on this because the dual language program, we were thinking about that. And we did not find, lessons that are in Spanish or in another language. But if you search, Lindsay, I don't know if you saw it either, but I have not come across, other languages.
I haven't. I know that in Newsella, they do have the option to look at the article in Spanish, but I have not seen specific lessons geared towards foreign language.
And one other question was about video access, whether or not there's video content already uploaded into some of maybe the already created library decks. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have BBC Video as one of the affiliates of NearPod that offers videos, but then YouTube also partners up. So anything you can find on YouTube, you can just plop right in. If it's a video, like one time I did make a lesson where I was showing a PBS video and I couldn't just insert the video into the slide. I actually had to put the link to go to visit the PBS site to watch the video.
And that was your question about verbal responses or recording responses. I know that in the activity section, I'm not sure if you guys are going to talk about the different activities that NearPod offers too. I've seen you've actually created one where the student responds to a question, let's say, versus typing. They can actually record their response and then submit the actual recording of their response as an activity. But also, I think Joanne was asking about whether or not you can actually record your own videos or upload your own videos, because I think NearPod connects with Flipgrid too.
Yes, it does.
So you can use Flipgrid and upload those photos into your NearPod deck as well.
Yes, so you can, record a video in Flipgrid and then upload it to NearPod and it will play fine. Another thing I've done, so say you wanted to record a lesson you were giving and it's longer than the Flipgrid time limit that's allowed. You can upload any video you create to YouTube. I've done this millions of times where I upload it as a private video where you can only, if you have the link, you have access to it, and then you can upload it to NearPod because they have that relationship with YouTube.
Nice. Cool. Hope that helps everybody.
I'll show some of the features if we have time near the end, because I do want to make sure we get to like the others, like how to assign it and stuff like that too. But just to review real quick, it's very easy to search the library. There, you know, if you're not sure about creating your own lesson, or you already have lessons created, or you want to search their extensive library, you just go visit that tab on the left-hand side that says NearPod Lesson Library. And it's going to bring you to the two different ways you can search, whether it's the left-hand side, that bar by standard or subject or grade area, or you can search in the middle by the NearPod's featured lessons. They have virtual reality lessons, which are kind of like field trips. They have lessons by the publisher we showed you, and they also have lots of lessons created just by NearPod's team. And there's actually, you know, teachers just like us on that team that they hired who create lessons, and they know best, right? So I trust them, and that's where we clicked. So I'm going to quickly go over how to assign it to your Google Classroom because it's actually really simple, and it's probably, I've had teachers tell me that kids prefer NearPod over Google Classroom because they understand how to use its features in a much simpler way, and they don't get all mixed up with, well, how do I, you know, submit my Google Doc or whatever. So everything's in NearPod, which is nice. The first thing you're going to do, and I'll show this in real time as well, you'll hover over the lesson you want to assign, and then this will pop up above the lesson. And there's going to be two options. You can assign it as a live lesson or a student-paced lesson. A live means that you as the teacher will be on the lesson with your students at the same time. So you'd have to assign a live if you know your kids are logging on at the same time. So lives are really great for small group instruction. I've used them one-to-one with kids I tutor, and I have them over on Google Meet or Zoom or whatever I'm using. And then we're able to chat as we're going through. And the great thing about live is the teacher drives the lesson. So kids can't, you know, skip ahead to, you know, this other slides just to see what's going to come. They have to stay on the slide that you keep them on. So I do like that feature, but in this world, we have to be flexible, and you might want to consider student-paced lessons, because if I'm assigning it to my whole class and I know that, you know, they log on when they can, student-paced is perfect because you can assign a due date and they can complete the lesson and all the assignments in the lesson in their own time by that due date. So whichever one you click, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to see a code pop up. And every time you assign it, it's going to be a different code. So that means it's going to be a new report for that lesson. You don't have to give students the code because NearPod actually partners with Google Classroom, and they provided this awesome, just easy clickable button for you where you just have to click that button, and it's going to bring you to a brand new window, and you have to just create a Google Classroom assignment. You're going to assign it to the class you want it to go to, and then you're going to create an action, which could be create an assignment, create a material, whatever it is, and then you'll click go. And the next thing that's going to happen is the window will change into, you have to give the assignment a title, you have to put a description with directions. And you'll see at the bottom below the description, there's the link. They don't even need the code. So they're just going to click the link. It's going to bring them right to the lesson, and they'll put their name in and join session. So that's why in the directions I say just click the link below. Please use your real name because they can change their name to a nickname. And then on the right-hand side, you can post it, you can schedule it just like you would any Google Classroom assignment. And if it's a small group, maybe you only want to assign it to certain students, and then give it a topic so they can find it really very easily. So I'm just going to show you that in real time to kind of give you an idea.
If I can stop you 1 second right there, maybe think of a question that somebody asked before. Katie Perot asked about assigning different NearPod maybe lessons that were, you know, at different levels or maybe differentiated for different groups of students in that class. And that, you know, although I wouldn't say, you know, that you can run a NearPod lesson simultaneously at the same exact time alive, but what you just said about self-paced would be a great opportunity where you could create two NearPod lessons that were assigned as self-paced in the assignment of Google Classroom and assign it only to those groups of students that you wanted it to do. So technically you could create two separate NearPod kind of differentiated slide decks, right? NearPod decks, and then assign them in Google Classroom to two separate groups of students. And you could do it in a self-paced way. That's kind of cool.
Yes. So even like, so I have this one copy. Here's that Titanic lesson that Lindsay was looking at. I can, you know, make a duplicate of this one by clicking the dots, and you can duplicate it. And then I can edit the second one, retitle it, and say it's for my green group or whatever I'm calling them. So I know, okay, I differentiated this lesson to meet that group's needs. And then you can change all these titles when you're in edit mode. And that way, you know, okay, this has to be assigned to this group or that section or whatever it may be. But it's very easy to use too. So,
yeah. And
go ahead.
Lindsay, you mentioned before about the data collection at one point. There was a question in the chat about when she was doing a self-paced lesson for kids. Their work wasn't saved. I wonder if maybe there either was a setting or was there something that maybe we missed when they do self-paced lessons and how that impacts the data at the end.
Yeah, Lindsay and I have come across that, and it's usually something very minor that has happened. So we can go over that because I'm going to show reports too, and that could be, you know, what I'm going to show could be what is happening. So when you assign it, you click which version you would prefer to assign. Both are going to show you a code. So if I clicked live lesson, that's the live I assigned earlier. So if I want a new live with a new report, I'm going to say launch new live lesson. Or if I want to go back and I'm going back with that same group, I'm going to click that old code to get in with that same group. So all of their stuff is already in there. But for this case, I'm going to launch a new live so you can see what it looks like. And from here, this is, again, they'll show you the code, and you're going to click Google Classroom just to get it in there so kids have the link. You can also email the link to them. That's another option. So you'll see down here, you'll see email, or I sometimes just click link, I copy it, and I send it in a quick email if I have to. But from here, you choose your class. I'm going to pick my demo. You choose an action. You can create assignment or create material. It's not really an announcement, but it depends on what you're assigning, right? So I usually create material. And then here's that page I showed you where you give it a title and all of that. You know, it could be, I put the date in, I say it's a NearPod, and then I put the title, why did the Titanic sink? I'm just repeating it so they know it's a NearPod, because your kids will get excited when they see it's a NearPod lesson, and that will entice them more to click. If you're having engagement issues, that will entice them to click it and to engage in the lesson. And then you put those directions in, please click the link below, and so forth. Use your real name. And that's the link. It'll bring them right in, and I'll show you real quick what that looks like. But again, if it's for a small group, you can use this drop-down menu. These are teachers, by the way. You can, you know, click who it's going to go to so that only they will receive the lesson and not everyone's confused. And I might put this in, make a topic of small group. I might say small group ELA if I'm teaching multiple small groups, and you can post it immediately or you can schedule it. And usually some teachers schedule it. So this is for tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So I might schedule it just so it's there. I know it's done. And then you can view it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when students log in, and just so it doesn't, I'm actually going to get out of this because last time I did this, it thought I was still the teacher. So I want to make sure I'm out of that so it doesn't think I'm the teacher. and you find it via small group, and there it is, and there's the link. So when you click the link, it's probably gonna think I'm still a teacher because I'm logged in. But it should have, here is going to appear a box where it says, please type your name in. And it also will say, or a nickname. And that's why I tell them to use their real name. And then they just click join session and they're in. Their screen will look similar to this one, but you as the teacher have a few options. You can see who's in your class. So I would wait for students to join and I can see how they're joining. I can see what name they're using and I can kick them out if the name is something that's not appropriate or if I have no idea who they are. And then here you can also preview what slides are coming, which is nice. And the students won't see you doing this too. So you can preview. So if you're on like a Zoom or a Google Meet, you can be talking and say, well, on the next slide, we're going to be doing this. And they won't know that you're previewing it because again, they're only seeing this. And you can hide student names as well for privacy. But if it's just you, they're not going to see each other's names. And then as you drive the slides, their slides are going to change too. So that's just how it looks on the teacher end. You can always see how it looks on a student end if you want by clicking this S over here to see student view. And it's just going to change it to how they're seeing it. So sometimes I do this if I'm wondering, you know, well, what does their screen look like that they're struggling? Could be a Drawboard or something like that. And then you can jump right back to teacher view by clicking the T. And you can also open this in a separate window too if you want to keep them both up. Different things. So when I'm done with a lesson, whether it's live or student-paced, you have reports to look over and somebody asks, you know, whether the student data was saved or not. There can be some issues, especially if it's student-paced. There's a few things to look out for. So there's two ways to find your report. On the left-hand side, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see reports and you can click. It's going to show you every single report of every single lesson you've ever given, which might not be helpful because if you're looking for one specific lesson, this can get a little complicated. So if you know what lesson you want to see the report for, you just have to hover over it. So I know I have a report for this lesson, the NearPod practice. If you hover over it and you see the dots, you click that and you'll see reports near the bottom. It's only going to show me the report for that lesson. So here's the report, I click it, and now a blue drop down appears. This was a live lesson, so I only have one report. If it was student pace, I'm gonna have multiple reports. And that's because students are logging in when they can. So you're gonna see tons of reports, and if you're clicking randomly, you're going to be missing student data. So you have to click the most recent timestamp of the most recent date to get the most accurate data of student responses. Or if you're clicking the first one all the way at the bottom where there's multiple, you're going to not have every student response. So you want to click the most recent timestamp and there's the date in the middle. And your report is very colorful, it's interactive, it's great. It shows participation, which I love. It tells you how many people are skipping questions. You can go individually into all of these categories and see exactly what they wrote and how they responded and if they skipped it. Because some students could be engaged with certain things and then they skip a quiz. So you want to know that. So this is a quiz I gave about sea creatures, and you can do the overall quiz results, the rate at which they had the correct answer, or you can do individual questions and you can see the student name, their responses, and you can even see when a student didn't answer. This was a teacher tutorial, so I did ask them not to answer just to show like what that looks like. So these are not students, by the way. And then you can do that the same thing with poll. Every time you're gonna have to click these bars just to see the data. It's gonna be a drop-down bar. And you'll be able to see all that, and it comes with a nice graphic. Open-ended questions. So I'm going to show you too, before we go to Q&A, these could be recorded, and that's a way to differentiate it if your students aren't comfortable typing. So open response, they can type their answer, or you can turn on the recording feature and they can record their voice. And if that's the case, you'll see a play button here so you can listen to it. So if you have no idea what they're saying, you can tell them you need to go back and try again. And you also have to make sure their microphone is on and connected to NearPod. And then they have draw it boards, and you can see those draw it boards, make them bigger by clicking. You'll see all the data. The collaborate board is interesting to point out, because if we share out, you have a view one or an editable one, and the editable one is good for teachers because you may want to delete a response that's inappropriate or doesn't answer the question or is just silly. So when you're in a live lesson, NearPod will ask you as the teacher, do you want to approve posts? Always click yes if you're in a live. If I'm not in a live and I'm in student paced, I usually click no, because then I have to keep checking in this lesson to approve these posts, and I want kids to see each other's responses during a student pace. So I don't have time to check in every 5-10 minutes during the day that they're doing it. So I just, if it's student pace, I do click no. And then I go in and I can delete. So you can see I deleted, I can undo a delete. So these are, I saw Mr. McGee. So if you see something in a, that doesn't make sense or doesn't add to what they saw or wondered, you can delete, you can undo it, you can like responses. Me as the teacher, you can see I see all the names. In the student view, which I can show you real quick, you don't see the names, which is great. I believe this is the teacher view though, but student view, they don't see each other's names, so it's very private. So me as the teacher, I can.
Can you respond to those Post-its at all?
I
Or can they respond to each other? Cool.
I can. So if I go in the editable mode, I can add a post. So it says saw several people. Who else saw, or who saw the colored fish? What color was it? They were in a coral reef, and that's what they were noticing, wondering. So when I post that, it's actually going to go to the bottom, and it says teacher, because it's obviously me, but the students won't know that it's me putting it there, and they can put in pictures. So someone took a screenshot of the virtual reality we were in and put it in on the board. But that's a teacher who's experienced with this. So once students get experience, they're gonna know, oh, I can take screenshots and put them in. So once they get better at it, it gets really interesting and cool. And then yes, so you as the teacher in a live, you can be adding your little comments too, and they don't need to know it's you. They actually won't know it's you unless you say it in the Zoom, like, oh, I just added a comment. Can
they respond to each other?
Yes, but it's not. So unlike Facebook or, like Instagram, you can't see a flow of comments of who's responding to who. You have to be pretty specific when you respond.
And maybe that's not the tool or the activity to use if that's what you're looking to do. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I use this a lot when I want them to respond to what they're learning about. And I always put in the directions, please read your classmates' responses so they can kind of learn a bit from other kids' ideas. They can respond and just say different things, but it's not going to be a back and forth.
Right.
Comment.
Yeah, the collaboration board's also great for just kind of brainstorming and getting ideas out there and then kind of honing in.
Oftentimes, I will use collaboration boards if they might have filled in a graphic organizer and then they go to the collaboration board and they have to share some ideas they put in their organizer. And I'll tell them, read other kids' responses and now go edit your organizer.
Right.
Based on what you read. So they might get ideas from other kids.
Great.
And then you could see, I didn't put a Flipgrid in this one, but you can have Flipgrid data in here too. And this just shows you, it can show you individual students. You can download these reports. You can download them as an Excel sheet and edit them and keep them in your Google Drive or on your computer. You can just download PDFs. It's very versatile. I didn't know, Tina, if there were any questions I should address, because we do have some time. I can quickly show some of the cool NearPod features you can add.
Sure. We have, so we have about 3 minutes until the end of the hour. I've been answering and responding to questions and asking them of you as they come in. I want to be able to answer any other technical questions as well. So why don't you show us all the activities that you can actually pull in there? What are the options? And then we'll stop the video and we can answer additional questions after that. If we have to do another NearPod, we can do part 2.
We can always do part 2, or
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we can talk to whoever we want. So you can add NearPod features to anything. I showed you how to do it to a regular Google slide. You can create a new one. You can add NearPod features to one you download. But when you add a slide, whether it's in Google Slides or in NearPod, you're going to get a bar of options. The last one are all NearPod special activities. So these are created by NearPod, for NearPod, except for Flipgrid here. Time to Climb is a way to assess kids in a game format, and it's fun and they get points and it's very, interactive. You can also just use the regular quiz, which is multiple choice. Time to Climb is also multiple choice. Open-ended questions. So this is the one Tina was talking about where you can differentiate and kids who aren't comfortable typing can record. So when you have an open-ended question, you would type here, whatever your question is. What season do the leaves change color on the trees? You can add a timer if you want to, keep them accountable. I do timers a lot in live lessons, so I know when they're done. And then if they need more time, you can give them more time. And then you can also add media. So you can add an image, video, a PDF, some more audio. But remember, this is a immersive reader will read this because I typed it. You can add a website they can visit. So say they visited a website and they have to reflect on it. You can put the link to that website here. So if they have to go back and remind themselves of what they did, they can click it. So sometimes I just add that just to help them reference. So I might say a tree. So I'm adding just a little reference point to help them with the question. It's not telling them what season, but it is reminding them, oh, this is what I'm talking about. And then you can turn on this feature here. And this is the audio recordings for students. So when students are in, and I'll show you what it looks like, a student view. So when they're answering this open-ended question and you preview it to see that student preview, it's going to show them 2 ways to respond. And sometimes in the question I do type, please type or record your response, just so they know they have the options. On my MacBook, I turned off my, my microphone, but on my Chromebook, it's already on. This will be red. And they can click it. It'll record them speaking, and they click it again to stop the recording, and it'll say submit. And then you will get the recording as the teacher, and you can listen to it. Or they can type their answer and submit. There will be a little submit button down here, depending on if it's a live lesson, there'll be a submit button. If it's student paced, all they have to do is click the arrow and they're good to go.
All right, Kate, it's 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop the webinar, but we will probably maybe need to come back and do a NearPod 2, and we can maybe dive deeper into some of the activities that you can make those slide decks a little bit more interactive. But how many different activities are there?
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a whole bunch in there.
At least 10, and then they
I was
have
going to say
ones.
10.
Yeah.
So because that could be a whole nother hour of all the different activities, or at least another teach point for sure. So if you guys are available, maybe we'll do NearPod part 2, focusing on the activities. That might be great. So I'm gonna thank you guys so much. We'll do another NearPod, like I said, next week. I'm gonna stop the video real quick. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.